My father was still smiling when Jonathan Hale walked past him and came straight toward me. "Kara Whitaker?" he said. "I had no idea Robert was your father." 15 people sat around my parents' Thanksgiving table. Seconds earlier, several of them had laughed when Dad called my company a 6-year failure. Now nobody moved. I was 39, wearing a plain green dress my father had already criticized. Across from me, my younger brother Tyler sat beside a Navy presentation folder he thought no one had noticed. Dad forced a smile. "You know Kara?" "Of course," Jonathan said. "Kara founded Meridian Supply Intelligence. She owns the company protecting our national renovation program." The room changed. My aunt lowered her wine glass. Tyler stopped smiling. My mother, Diane, stared at me as if I had become a stranger between the turkey and cranberry sauce. Dad laughed once. "There must be some misunderstanding. Kara does consulting." "She does," Jonathan replied. "Her team prevented Aspen Ridge from losing millions last year." Then he turned to his wife. "Rebecca, this is the owner I told you about." Dad's face went still. 10 minutes earlier, he had raised one of his expensive crystal glasses and toasted Tyler as the child who understood real business. Then he looked at me. "Some people build companies," he said. "Others build excuses around hobbies that never became successful." The laughter had been uncomfortable, but it had still been laughter. I did not defend myself. I had learned that facts offered to people determined to misunderstand you only become material for another argument. What Dad did not know was that Meridian had already sent his company 3 compliance warnings. Every one had been ignored. Jonathan's introduction did not destroy my father's business that night. It only opened the door to a truth he had refused to see. Before I explain why his largest contract depended on the daughter he mocked, tell me in the comments whether your family has ever dismissed something you built without understanding it. Subscribe if you believe quiet people sometimes carry the strongest proof. To understand why I kept my success private, you need to understand the house where I grew up. My father, Robert Whitaker, built Whitaker Commercial Furnishings from a small upholstery shop into a respected regional supplier. Dad treated business success like a measure of human worth. At home, the person closest to the company received the most respect. That person was always supposed to be Tyler. He was 5 years younger than me. He changed college majors twice and joined Dad's company without working anywhere else. Within 18 months, Dad gave him a vice president title, a company SUV, and authority over major accounts. I had spent my teenage summers in the warehouse. I knew which vendors delivered late, which materials failed inspection, and which clients changed orders without warning. Still, Dad called me too cautious. "You think too much," he once said. "Business requires instinct." When I suggested replacing his paper supplier records with a searchable database, he dismissed it. 2 years later, Tyler proposed nearly the same idea after a trade show. Dad called him innovative. Diane was gentle and permanently afraid of conflict. She translated Dad's cruelty into softer words. He was not dismissive, he had high standards. He was not favoring Tyler, he was protecting the company's future. And I was always expected to understand. After college, I accepted a procurement job with a hospitality group instead of joining the family company. Dad treated my decision like betrayal. At gatherings, he introduced Tyler as his successor. Then he pointed toward me and said, "Kara does computer work for hotels." In reality, I reviewed suppliers, negotiated contracts, and prevented expensive failures. Dad never asked. Even after I left, he called whenever a shipment failed, a contract looked confusing, or Tyler needed help preparing for a client meeting. I answered because part of me still believed usefulness might eventually become respect. Instead, every problem I solved taught my family the same lesson. Kara would always come back. The first time I did not, my father blamed me for a mistake Tyler had made. That accusation became the beginning of everything he would later call my failure. The mistake Tyler made involved custom lounge furniture for a new hotel outside Boston. The supplier had changed factories without updating its fire safety documents. I found the discrepancy after work, emailed Tyler, copied Dad, and attached the page showing the certification no longer matched the production site. Tyler replied, Stop making everything complicated. He approved the shipment. 6 weeks later, the hotel rejected every piece. The furniture sat in storage, while fees climbed, and the client threatened to cancel future orders. Dad called me on a Sunday morning. "You knew this could happen," he said. "I warned both of you. If it was serious, you should have made Tyler understand." Tyler ignored my warning, but I had somehow failed to protect him from the consequences. It was not the first time my work disappeared into his success. A year earlier, I rebuilt Dad's damaged supplier database, created a delivery tracker, and found duplicate invoices that saved nearly $80,000. At the next staff lunch, Dad thanked Tyler for modernizing operations. Tyler had forwarded my files without my name. When I objected, Dad sighed. "Families should not fight over credit, Kara. That rule only applied when the credit belonged to me." Dad helped Tyler buy a house because the future president needs stability. When I asked for a small loan to finish an advanced procurement certification, he refused. "Qualifications won't give you business instinct." Mom asked me not to argue. "Let Tyler have this," she said. I was always asked to let Tyler have something: credit, money, authority, or the easier version of the truth. By Dad's 60th birthday, I was still reviewing contracts for free. I had even drafted an operations plan to reduce delivery failures. During his speech, Dad raised a glass to Tyler. "My son understands how to carry a real business," he said. Then he looked at me. Kara never had the patience for it. People laughed. I left before the cake, sat in my car beneath the parking lot lights, and opened the unfinished report on my laptop. For years, I had handed my family solutions and watched them erase my name. That night, I deleted Dad's company logo from the document. I kept the research. It became the first framework for Meridian Supply Intelligence. I launched Meridian with my savings and 2 rented rooms above a dental clinic. During the day, I kept my procurement job. At night, I helped small hotels verify suppliers, document risks, and avoid contracts that looked cheap until something failed. My first desk had a broken drawer. I answered every call myself. There was no instant success. Several investors said the business was too practical to become valuable. One suggested I turn it into an organization blog because women explain that stuff well. I thanked him and kept building. My breakthrough came when I combined supplier records, delivery histories, insurance documents, and compliance requirements into one review system. Meridian could show clients where a renovation was likely to fail before they signed a vendor contract. We were not glamorous. We were useful. Within 6 years, Meridian grew to 32 employees. I remained the majority owner and rejected an acquisition offer that would have taken away my control. I earned more than my father knew, but I still drove the same car and lived in a modest townhouse. My family saw those choices and assumed the business was struggling. Dad never asked how many people I employed. Tyler checked our website once, saw no published revenue, and told relatives I was pretending to be a CEO. I let him believe it. Then Aspen Ridge Hospitality hired Meridian after my team prevented a nationwide renovation delay. Its CEO, Jonathan Hale, respected evidence more than charm. When Aspen Ridge prepared its largest expansion in a decade, Meridian received authority to evaluate every major supplier. One was Whitaker Commercial Furnishings. I immediately disclosed the family relationship and removed myself from its scoring. My chief operating officer, Priya Shah, supervised the review independently. I wanted Dad's company treated fairly. Tyler mistook fairness for weakness. He ignored document requests, submitted outdated insurance records, and told Dad Meridian was creating meaningless paperwork. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Priya forwarded me one of Tyler's emails. At the bottom, he had written, "Jonathan knows my father. Once we get him in the room, this little review company won't matter." He had no idea who owned the company he planned to bypass. Priya Shah was the first person who treated my caution like a strength instead of a defect. We met years earlier, when she supervised procurement for a restaurant group. During our first project, I discovered that a supplier's insurance policy excluded the exact installation they had been hired to complete. The project manager called it a technicality. Priya called it the reason no one would be sued 6 months later. "You see the problem before everyone else notices the smoke," she told me. That stayed with me, because Dad had spent years describing the same instinct as fear. When Meridian became stable enough to hire a chief operating officer, Priya was my first call. She was direct where I hesitated, and calm where I carried too much guilt. The morning after she forwarded Tyler's email, Priya entered my office holding a compliance summary. "Do you want Whitaker removed from the review?" she asked. "No. Kara, they've missed 9 requests. They deserve the same opportunity as every other supplier." Priya placed the report on my desk. Fairness does not mean endless chances. I scanned the pages. Outdated insurance records, conflicting delivery estimates, pricing that did not match the proposed materials, and 3 attempts by Tyler to contact Jonathan directly instead of following the required procurement process. I don't want Dad saying I destroyed his company. Priya's expression softened, but her answer did not. "You're still arranging your life around his version of you. He has never bothered to ask what Meridian does." Through the glass wall, I could see 32 employees working inside the company my father called an embarrassing hobby. She was right. I had stopped asking Dad for approval, but I was still hiding my success because I knew it would make him feel challenged. Priya handed me the report. "Take this home. Go to Thanksgiving as yourself, not the smaller version they prefer." I slid it into my laptop bag. "I'm not turning dinner into a business announcement." "You don't have to," she said. "Just stop helping them believe the lie." The next morning, Dad called. His voice was unusually warm. "Your mother could use help Thursday," he said. "Come early." "What time?" 2. "Jonathan Hale and his wife may stop by." That explained everything. Aspen Ridge was still deciding which suppliers would join its expansion. Dad wanted private access to Jonathan before the review ended. "He's coming for Thanksgiving?" His travel plans changed. "It's casual." Nothing in Dad's voice sounded casual. Then he added, "Let Tyler handle the business conversation. And don't get into that consulting stuff. Jonathan respects established companies." I stared at the Meridian logo printed across Priya's report. "What exactly do you think I do?" He sighed. "This isn't the time to be sensitive." After the call, I considered staying home. Priya reminded me that avoiding dinner would only help Dad preserve his fantasy. So I went. The house looked less like Thanksgiving and more like a client reception. Dad wore his navy suit. Tyler had hidden proposal folders inside the dining room sideboard. Mom placed Jonathan's card between Dad and Tyler. Mine was beside the kitchen door. "You can help me serve from there," Mom explained. Dad looked at my green dress and frowned. "Couldn't your company afford something more professional?" I set my bag beneath my chair. Inside it was the report showing his company was currently rated high risk. I helped Mom carry dishes because part of me still hoped the evening might remain peaceful. Then Jonathan texted that he would be late. Dad poured another glass of wine and told the family Aspen Ridge's expansion would secure Whitaker Commercial Furnishings for the next decade. Tyler smiled as though the contract already belonged to him. Dad tapped his glass and announced that Tyler would soon become company president. Everyone applauded. I did not. Dad noticed immediately. He leaned across the candles and folded napkins. "Is it really that difficult for you to be happy for your brother?" The room quieted. I could feel the report waiting inside my bag, and I knew the peaceful part of Thanksgiving was over. Dad leaned across the candles and folded napkins. "Is it really that difficult for you to be happy for your brother?" I kept my hands in my lap. "I'm happy when people earn responsibility." Tyler laughed. "You run a small consulting website, Kara. That doesn't make you an authority on leadership." I felt the familiar urge to explain myself and offer enough proof to make them treat me fairly. Dad did not give me the chance. "Kara has always confused education with business ability," he told the table. "She left the family company because she couldn't handle real pressure. Now she sells reports to people who actually do the work." Mom touched my wrist beneath the table. "Please don't make tonight tense," she whispered. I had not raised my voice or insulted anyone. Still, keeping the peace had become my responsibility. Dad lifted his glass. "To Tyler, the child who understands what it means to build something real." A few relatives raised their glasses, then he looked directly at me. "And maybe one day, Kara will admit her 6-year business experiment failed, instead of pretending it's a career." Someone near the end of the table laughed nervously. That sound hurt more than Dad's words. Everyone understood the cruelty, but no one wanted to challenge him. I asked, "Have you ever asked what my company does?" He smiled as if I had proved his point. Successful companies don't need to be explained at Thanksgiving. Tyler spread his hands. "When I become president, I could find you a place in operations. Mid-level, obviously. You'd finally have something stable." Inside my bag, Priya's report documented why Tyler's proposal had been classified as high risk. He was offering me a job at a company my team was evaluating. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Dad stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. His irritation vanished, his shoulders straightened, and his voice became warm. Jonathan Hale entered with his wife, Rebecca, carrying a bakery box and apologizing for being late. Dad stepped forward. Jonathan looked past him and stopped when he saw me. "Kara Whitaker?" He walked around the table and hugged me. "I had no idea Robert was your father." Dad's smile froze. "You two know each other?" "Of course," Jonathan said. "Kara founded Meridian Supply Intelligence." Rebecca smiled at me. "You're the owner Jonathan keeps talking about." The room became silent. "Meridian saved our last renovation cycle," Jonathan continued. "Their review caught a supplier issue that could have cost us millions." Dad gave an uncertain laugh. "Kara told us she did consulting." "She does. Meridian also oversees supplier approval for our expansion program." Tyler stopped moving. Jonathan noticed the navy folders inside the open sideboard. The Aspen Ridge logo was visible on the top page. His expression changed. "Why is a confidential vendor proposal sitting in your dining room?" Dad waved toward it. Tyler was showing me a few ideas. Nothing formal. Jonathan looked at Tyler. "Did you invite me here to discuss an active bid?" "No," Tyler said quickly. "This is family dinner. Kara probably made it sound worse because she has issues with us." I said, "We should not discuss a live procurement review at this table." Jonathan's attention sharpened. Dad pulled me into the hallway. "Tell him this is harmless," he ordered. "I can't. You hid your position, embarrassed your brother, and now you're risking the company? You mocked my work before you knew it could help you." His voice dropped. "Tyler's future and dozens of jobs depend on this contract. Fix it." There it was. Not an apology, just another demand that I protect Tyler from consequences. I returned to the dining room, removed Priya's untouched compliance summary from my bag, photographed it, and sent her a message documenting the attempted influence. Then I faced Jonathan. "I'm formally reporting a potential conflict," I said. "Because Robert is my father, I will recuse myself from Whitaker's final review. Meridian's independent team will handle everything." Dad stared at me. He had believed my ownership would give him an advantage. Instead, it removed the connection he hoped to use. Jonathan scheduled an emergency review for Monday morning with procurement, legal counsel, and Meridian's independent panel. I put the report back in my bag and left before dessert. By midnight, Dad had called 12 times. Not once did he apologize. Every message said the same thing: save Tyler's contract. Monday morning, I arrived at Aspen Ridge Hospitality's headquarters 20 minutes early. The conference room overlooked downtown Hartford. A legal pad sat in front of every chair. Jonathan was at the far end beside Aspen Ridge's general counsel, procurement director, and 2 finance executives. Priya sat to my left with 3 labeled folders. I was present as Meridian's owner, but because Whitaker Commercial Furnishings belonged to my father, I had no vote. My recusal was recorded before the meeting began. Dad arrived with Tyler and an attorney. Tyler wore a dark suit and carried himself like the meeting was an inconvenience someone else had created. Dad gave me a tight smile. "Can we speak privately first?" Jonathan answered before I could. "Any conversation about the review needs to happen in this room." Tyler called Thanksgiving a family misunderstanding and claimed Meridian's concerns had been exaggerated because of sibling tension. "My sister has always resented my role," he said. "I think that influenced the review." Priya opened the first folder. "Kara Whitaker had no role in your scoring. The system records, assignments, and email history confirm that." A timeline appeared on the screen. 9 unanswered document requests. Outdated insurance certificates. 3 conflicting delivery schedules. 2 attempts to bypass procurement and contact Jonathan directly. Tyler leaned toward his attorney. Those were normal business conversations. You were instructed in writing not to contact me about the bid, Jonathan said. Priya opened the second folder. The real damage was not the proposal at Thanksgiving. Tyler had submitted pricing based on a delivery schedule his own warehouse manager had called impossible. An internal email appeared on the screen. If we win first, we can renegotiate timing later. Aspen Ridge won't replace us once construction starts. Dad stared at Tyler. You wrote that? It was strategy. It was a plan to win using terms you knew you couldn't meet, the procurement director said. Dad looked older. He had approved the proposal without reviewing the correspondence because he believed Tyler had inherited his judgment. Then he turned to me. Kara, can we step outside? No. I'm your father, and this is a documented review. He changed tactics. Whitaker paid for the house you grew up in. Your education, every family vacation, we supported you. Parenting me was not a business loan, I said. You don't get to collect my silence as interest. The room went still. Dad lowered his voice. Tell them Tyler made a few careless mistakes. Don't let one proposal destroy everything I built. He was finally acknowledging my authority, but only because he wanted to use it. I will not burn down the company I built to protect the son you praised for ignoring the rules. Tyler pushed back from the table. So this is revenge. No. Revenge would be changing the evidence. I'm refusing to change it. I told the panel I did not want Whitaker destroyed. The company employed innocent people. I recommended allowing it to reapply after an independent audit and leadership correction, but I would not guarantee approval, hide emails, or ask Jonathan for a favor. After a short recess, Jonathan announced the decision. Aspen Ridge would not award Whitaker the expansion contract. Its preferred supplier status would be paused, pending an external audit. Existing orders would continue, but Tyler could not lead any future Aspen Ridge account. The contract had not been taken by an angry daughter. It had been lost by a son who believed access mattered more than preparation. In the hallway, Tyler caught up with me. You humiliated Dad. No one forced you to write those emails. You could have protected us. I protected the company that trusted me. Dad stepped between us. Are you proud of yourself? I looked at the man whose approval had shaped most of my life. No, I said. I'm finished. I walked away before he could turn responsibility into another obligation. The consequences started that afternoon. Aspen Ridge paused all new Whitaker orders until the audit was complete. The company did not collapse, but it lost revenue Dad had already included in his plans. A warehouse purchase was delayed. The bank requested revised projections. Tyler's promotion to president was canceled. The audit found weak inventory controls, undocumented supplier substitutions, and decisions Tyler had hidden from Dad. None were criminal, but they proved he was not ready to run the company. 2 senior managers threatened to leave unless Dad hired an experienced operations director. For the first time, he had to admit that the warnings he dismissed when they came from me were real. Relatives who laughed at Thanksgiving began messaging. Some apologized. Others asked whether I could convince Jonathan to reconsider. Mom admitted she had known Dad planned to pitch Jonathan during dinner. I thought it would keep the peace, she said. Peace that requires one person to stay silent is control with better manners. Tyler posted online about jealous relatives sabotaging family businesses. Meridian's attorney warned him to stop making false claims. He deleted the post. Jonathan continued working with Meridian. Following the rules when it hurt my own family strengthened my reputation more than any speech could have. Dad lost more than a contract. People in his industry learned that the business he mocked was trusted to evaluate his. 3 weeks later, he appeared in Meridian's lobby. He carried no apology, only a request. 3 weeks after the review, Dad walked into Meridian's lobby without an appointment. I saw him beneath our company logo, watching employees move between desks. He looked quietly unsure of where he belonged. When I stepped into the lobby, he glanced around. I didn't realize it was this big, he said. That was the closest he had come to admitting he had never tried to understand my work. We sat in a meeting room. Dad told me he was proud of what I had built. I wanted to believe he had come to apologize. Then he placed a folder on the table. Whitaker Commercial Furnishings needed help preparing for the audit. He wanted Meridian to advise them at a family rate. The praise had been an opening offer. "You didn't come to repair our relationship," I said. "You came because you need access." His face hardened. "I'm trying to save the company that supported you. Meridian cannot advise a supplier. We may later evaluate." I slid a list of independent consultants toward him. "So you're holding a grudge. A boundary is not punishment just because you dislike it." I told him I would not attend family events where Tyler could insult me, and Mom expected me to stay quiet. Any future relationship required an honest apology, no business requests, and no rewriting Thanksgiving as a misunderstanding. Dad stood. "You're tearing this family apart." "No, I'm refusing to hold it together while everyone pulls at me." Tyler sent me a long message that night. He said Dad's health was suffering and accused me of enjoying their problems. I did not answer. When Tyler contacted one of my employees asking for confidential information, I blocked him. Mom chose a different path. She began counseling and sent me a handwritten letter. It named the moments when she had failed me. The speeches, the stolen credit, Thanksgiving, and every time she called my silence peace. I did not forgive everything at once. We met for coffee in neutral places. She learned to ask instead of assume. I learned that cautious contact was not surrender. Dad refused counseling. He continued calling Thanksgiving unfortunate. Eventually, I accepted that I might never receive the apology I deserved. That acceptance did not break me. It released me. 1 year later, I hosted Thanksgiving in a renovated space beside Meridian's office. Priya came, along with friends, employees without nearby family, and people who supported me before my success became useful. There were no proposal folders hidden in the sideboard. No seat was placed near the kitchen, because someone was expected to serve everyone else. Mom arrived carrying apple stuffing from my grandmother's recipe. She paused at the door. "Are you comfortable with me being here?" That question meant more than a dramatic speech. She was finally recognizing that my comfort mattered. Meridian had grown carefully. I hired a president to manage daily operations, while I remained majority owner and strategic chair. I also began mentoring women who had been told their judgment was fear. Dad's company survived. He hired an experienced operations director, reduced its expansion plans, and rebuilt its systems. Tyler lost his executive role and eventually found a sales job elsewhere. I did not destroy Whitaker Commercial Furnishings. The truth forced it to stop depending on favoritism. During dinner, Jonathan sent me a photograph from a completed Aspen Ridge hotel and thanked Meridian for helping it open on schedule. I smiled and put my phone away. I no longer needed to display proof of my success at a family table. Dad sent a message saying he hoped we could put the past behind us. I replied, "Moving forward requires acknowledging what happened, not pretending it disappeared." He never answered. For years, I believed success would finally make my father respect me. Instead, success taught me that recognition offered only after someone discovers your power is not the same as love. Jonathan introducing me as the owner was not my victory. My victory was refusing to trade my integrity for the approval I had chased since childhood. If you have ever been pressured to shrink yourself so your family could stay comfortable, share your experience in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about choosing dignity over conditional love. I spent years waiting for my father to offer me a respected place at his table. Then I realized I could build a better table myself.